right, so who's going to win the election? Let's see if you think this makes any sense to you. So, if you look at the polls, they say one thing. We've heard statements, polls are accurate, polls are inaccurate, and it's so hard to tell because every one of these places seems to have political motivation behind stuff that they say. So how do you know when somebody's actually telling you facts versus telling you their opinion or their preference under the guise of facts, and either wording it so that you don't know unless you really look into it, or just making it impossible to really discern? How do you know? I guess you don't. And this all kind of goes back to this entire social movement that's been happening in this country over the last 6 months, maybe 9 months. I guess you really say starting with the start of COVID. What you intake as facts depends a lot on what you want to believe in. And you know, it's fucked, but there's a way to beat it. So let me just tell you what I mean by what you want to believe in. It means that, you know, you can look at this mask thing, right? And you can look at the history of just over the last 9 months, you can look at the history of what the American government, the CDC, has said a person should do in relation to COVID prevention and wearing masks. Or you can listen to the mainstream media and what they talk about, what they claim are facts, cherry-picked from certain doctors at certain times. Or you can look on social media with everything from videos of people refusing to wear them and people arguing about it to all these videos of, oh, I got COVID and I'm not sick and now look at me, I'm going to fucking die. And you can look at all this stuff and try to, but really what it comes down to is what do you want to believe in, right? That's not the way that it's supposed to be. There's supposed to be actual science behind it, and there is, but it takes uncovering to get to. And it doesn't take that much uncovering. I mean, you can go to the CDC. And the problem is that once you obtain those facts, you can't just then shut down your mind to other stimuli about it and say, okay, well, I understand what the science is behind this, and now I can make a decision based on that, because the media doesn't let you. And now, more specifically, Democratic Party doesn't let you. They want to keep talking about numbers of infection. Well, good Lord. Numbers of infection is not the same as numbers of deaths. Not only is numbers of infections not numbers of deaths, but I've been seeing in the last few weeks more and more pop-up COVID test stations where they are in the middle of the street or in a parking lot right off of the street, usually in the city, and they are a makeshift looking tent with signs that say free COVID testing, basically going after people in the more impoverished community. Because why? Because they know a lot of those people are already infected. They know a lot of those people are asymptomatic, and if they continue to put those things up there, they can make it look like a spike in COVID cases. Type of people, age of people, health of people that get infected, and health of people that get infected that have a serious problem with it is not the same as total number of infections. So you're getting no new data, you're just getting a lot of fear-mongering. It's the same thing with some of these other things that have been said at protests. Now, defund the police, I've talked about this before. Very wonderfully vague term. What does it mean? And then you have the agents of the Black Lives Matter, Antifa, like to disagree with each other, sometimes publicly, at least via these forums like Twitter, or sometimes on social media posts about what it actually means. But the truth is, there's no confusion about what that actually means. It means get rid of police. Getting rid of police is an insane idea in any society that has law. Doesn't make any sense. But that's because getting rid of police isn't really the end goal. Now, I said this months ago when I did a video on the BLM and the defund. I did specifically on the defund part, and I said, what else is it that the BLM is going to come out with for their list of demands? And there were a few other arbitrary things, but defund seemed to be the biggest claim. And now, months later, months after I made that post, after we first heard that term, we know that this is really their main thing. Reform in policing to complete police abolition. But that's not a logical thing to do in our society. So that means that it's actually a non-goal. It's essentially disinformation. Looking at how these things get handled, and there are other things relating to this movement, they do the same thing. They create these circular arguments. I just did circular or nonsensical, and I just did, I think, a great post yesterday about the mental illness misdirection, which is Another aspect of the defund, talking about how mental illness is the cause of a lot of these problems with people who are violent, therefore police should not be the ones responding to the calls about them, 911 or otherwise. And I said, oh, that's kind of a nonsense argument. Kinds of circular arguments, though, that go nowhere. These kinds of arguments that when they are refuted by somebody who says, well, I think the facts are this, and this is my source. When those kind of statements are then replied to with things like, well, you're just sowing disinformation. You're just coming up with that out of nowhere. That's whatever study that is you say you're quoting, that didn't actually happen. Or did you know that everything is automatically discredited? Because once everything's discredited, once shit makes no sense, once every argument is tiresome and pointless because it can't make progression, because the foundation of the argument in itself is complete nonsense, or the progression of the argument, the ability to get data from each side and have argumentation and discussion becomes impossible because one side doesn't want resolution. Every argument is fucking pointless. All data is up for interpretation. History's bullshit. All these people in history don't mean shit. That kind of mentality, tearing down statues, right? American government, American blah blah, all that kind of stuff. It just keeps sowing this. Well, your facts. How do you know your facts are facts? Like, they're trying to essentially redefine what scientific theory, scientific law, scientific hypothesis is, right? Those words could be related to evidence, would be law. Your circumstantial evidence would be theory, and anecdotal evidence would be hypothesis. And they're essentially saying that, in essence, everything is hypothesis. Law isn't impossible. Even theory is impossible. Unless, of course, it happens to be one of the few ones that we kind of tout, but then the ones that they tout don't make any sense. Well, when you keep doing this, how in the hell can you possibly trust any poll or think they make any sense? So I think that these major networks, social media even more so, but I think these major networks have just decided to start lying. I definitely think they're polling. I think it's evidenced by the amount of random stuff that I get every week, either through the mail or via text messages asking me how I'm going to vote, or asking me, hey, are you registered to vote? Acting like an advocacy group, not a partisan poller. Oh, hey, are you registered to vote? Do you need to know how to vote by mail? Do you need to know how to vote in person early? We can help you. Do you want to reply to our text message? But then when you reply, you find out that it's only a matter of time until they ask you, so who are you going to support? Because it's very important who you vote for. And sooner or later they get to, you look at these mailings that I get, and I've had so many more than these. If you look up these things that say Wisconsin Voter Registry or Voter Information Center, and you look into them deep enough, eventually you go high enough up, you see that they're all under the same umbrella company. They're all Democrat sponsored. So when you see that, it's like they're trying to figure out the real number for themselves, but the real number doesn't matter, because when CNN and NBC come on, what they do is they just make up numbers, right? So it doesn't matter what lead Trump or Biden has in the state. An important state that's going to decide the election, right? They've decided is now Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Carolina, Pennsylvania, Florida, right? In these states, they just like, fuck it, we're going to see Biden and Trump are like 45% with 10% undecided. We're going to go, let's go 46 Biden, 42 Trump. Let's go 48 Biden, 44 Trump. Let's go 49 Biden, 41 Trump. So slowly, they just eradicate a person's desire to actually go out and vote. How come? Because they make you feel it's pointless. I'm in a blue area. This area is going to go Biden. I want to vote Trump, but it's pointless. I'm going to have to stand there all day. My vote's not really going to fucking matter because this area is so swung one direction. Maybe I just won't vote. That's what they're going for. So now they come right out and say, oh, Biden's 82% to 12% Trump in a state like Wisconsin. But then people would look around and go, no, I know it ain't like that. Or in a state like fucking Florida or North Carolina, no, I know it ain't that. So they have to keep it closer. But I think they're just straight making these numbers up. And what, that occurred to me that this was happening when I went to a Trump rally, which I did last week. First time, it was pretty interesting. And, there were like 6,000-7,000 people in the crowd, and he says something like, oh, there's 10,000 of you out here. And I'm thinking, I don't think there's 10,000. And there's, 1,000 more outside trying to get in, 5,000, whatever he said, right? And I'm like, nah, I mean, there's probably 500 or 1,000 outside waiting, and I'm thinking, why is he exaggerating this number? And then it occurred to me, he has no ability to control the honesty of the media. And he sees what they're doing. They're lying. They're straight lying about the polling numbers, and they're lying in a way where their lie is slight, but it's just enough to discourage people from actually participating in the election. So he has enthusiasm. It's genuine. There are a fuck ton of people, but he conflates the number just a tiny bit because it's the only way that he can control. The media is lying. The media is exaggerating. The media is just complete dishonesty and disregard for nonpartisanship. It's the only way he can do it. And that started to make me think, that in conjunction with all the mailers that I'm getting and the way that, it seems, especially in areas like I live in, that a Biden sign means you're voting for Biden, though once in a while a Biden sign might mean that one of your neighbors offered you one or made a comment about it so you got one so you wouldn't be, essentially picked on. But that an absence of a Biden sign and no sign at all kind of means that you support Trump. Because it's just, even though the amount of people that don't support him is less, it's just too dangerous to put a sign in your yard in certain neighborhoods because, dude, they'll come and they'll protest at the very least. If not, your house will get vandalized at night, or you might even get attacked. In fact, I can give you an example. I was just driving right now while I was making this, and I paused it to get out of the car for a second because I saw somebody get a huge Trump-Pence Make America Great Again sign. It was a huge sign. And it was on the bottom, it said 2016. So they had this sign left over from the last election. And then on the bottom where it said 2016, I got out and took a Trump sticker that I had in my car. It said Trump-Pence 2020. And I put it over the 2016. It was like, oh, they'll like this. They'll come out and say, oh, so look, somebody stopped by and helped modernize the sign. While I was out there, a few seconds, 2 people out of about 50 that drove by a very busy road, 2 people said, man, fuck Trump, fuck you and fuck Trump. 2 people, 2 different cars, out of the 50 or so that drove by. So nobody else said anything, and I'm just saying that's what it seems like. And the intimidation is real. All I was doing was kneeling by the sign, putting a sticker on it. In fact, from the street as they were driving by, for all they know, I could have been putting a Biden sticker over the Trump sign, or I could have been putting anything over there. They don't even know. They needed to express that because that's how they treat people that support Trump around here. And I just don't think that his numbers are that bad. I just don't think that he won this state by a certain amount of percentage points in 2016. I just don't think that many people have swung the other direction. In fact, with the numbers about the black community, I think he's gone more the other direction. And I think the black community statistic, it was something like, I don't know, I'm just going to go off the top of my head. It was something like 3% of the black population voted for him in 2016. Is a super low number. And there was a new poll just came out a couple days ago. A lot of the fucking conservative black people have been talking about this on YouTube. But there's a poll that just came out that said that he is up to somewhere, depending on which set of data you believe, between 22 and 30% of the black vote. Now, he's going to get that. That's a huge increase. But it's not just a huge increase because it shows that a lot of black people are making decisions that they've never made before, to give somebody else a chance besides essentially what they've been told by the establishment to continue to do. Not only does it show that, but I think it's very important with the election results, because the majority of these black people that are coming out saying, yeah, I think we might just fucking vote for Trump, they're going to live in the areas that are diehard blue, that generally can't ever flip. They're going to be in these areas. So they could actually change some of the more population dense districts. So that's a huge statistic. Knowing all that, and knowing that I doubt that his numbers went down since the last time we had an election, because he wasn't like he was talking nice and polite when he was campaigning in 2015 and 16. It wasn't like he was going out there and being polite to everybody. He was calling people liars and thieves and lifelong politicians, and he was calling the news fake news. It wasn't like he got elected and started doing that. That's kind of been his thing. So I'm not seeing a ton of people changing their support from him to somebody else, or even going to neutral because like, oh, you know, I really liked him in 16, but the way he talks. So I'm starting to think it's going to be like 75-25 Trump. And that's why they're doing this disinformation and straight out lies in their campaigns. Whether it's CNN and NBC talking about polls, or any of the other major newspapers, or whether it's people talking on Twitter or any other social media. I think their desperation is very evident of how bad they know they're doing. And the last thing I'll say, have you seen any of the footage of Washington, D.C. or other areas of the country? Let me patch in this quick video about D.C. and I'll see if I can find the Seattle one too.
These are the wooden boards being put up on storefronts all across Washington, D.C. as we prepare for November 3rd.
And I can't find the Seattle one at the moment, but here's some here's a Biden supporter attacking a Trump supporter for no reason.
Oh! Hey! You stay away from him! I will fucking hurt you! Watch out! I'm gonna fuck you right, you wanna get Stop saying in my face, you redneck bastard! You were talking about my boy! You ain't talking about my boy, retard! I will slap the goddamn taste out of you! No violence!
Okay, now I'm just off topic. This is real.
As of today, there have been 38,160 cases of COVID-19 in Oregon.
All right, back on track. Here's some boarded up spots in Philly. There's one in New York, North Carolina. Those are major shopping areas and storefronts of downtown and other places in those cities. And I have seen even more videos like this of other cities. They're boarding up in preparation for the election. Now, I don't know about you, but I've yet to see any Trump protest in which the participants go out and intentionally, maliciously damage property or damage property on any large scale, which means they're preparing for the possibility that Trump wins, and it's a protest akin to a black person being shot in every city at the same fucking time, same day. They're preparing for essentially a reaction like that because they know that the radical left is going to do something. And when you put that in conjunction with, say, this article I saw in the paper, or local paper, things that Nancy Pelosi's been saying about, oh, don't worry about a peaceful transition of power. We got a plan for that. You know, they're doing that same thing that the Stomach-Teilung BLM are doing, where they're creating, amplifying, or completely creating a situation, and then when that situation plays out, pointing to it, going, say, look at this, this is the result, or this is the cause. But they created it in the first place. She's doing the same fucking thing. She's trying to make it seem like Trump is going to take this country by military force when he loses the election. That's what this headline implies. That's what they're saying. They're crazy, man, and they're all just lying. I really think that he's gonna have a decisive victory. And I hope so, because the country will be better off. I really do believe that. All right, so Biden's about to land at the airport in Milwaukee to do one of his rallies, I guess. And right now what we're looking at on the north side of the street are approximately 20 people with signs for Biden, who are not going to be in the rally, I guess. On the south side of the street here, we have everybody with signs for Trump. Here's the airport here. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to land and give a speech. We'll figure that out in a minute, but I'll get back to you when more people show up. We do have some police presence there also.
fuck shit.
Biden for president! Biden for president!
That's Joe where laptop is.
Where's Hunter?
There's Biden's contingency.
Hunter! Hey, Joe, where's Hunter? Where's Just a couple more days before we retire Joe Biden forever!
I got your poll right here. CNN fake news.
Everyone, we got Sleepy Joe coming. He's gonna go home and put a lid on his campaign once again to sleep. We got another Trump supporter over there. Let's add that to the ranks of us. Crack addicts for Biden. Crack addicts for Biden.
Don't you have any grown-ups that can vote over there?
We got Latinos for Trump.
Blacks for Trump.
Veterans for Trump. Women for Trump. Alright, folks, we're going to do another count. We got a few more supporters that came to join our side. Let's see the count on your side. We got one. Wait, is that two? Okay, we got 2, 3, 4. That's the media. They don't count, but you know what? We might as well count them because they're on Joe Biden's side, not Trump's. 5, 6. No, I already counted that guy. 7, 8, 9. Oh, it looks like the kids on bikes joined them. All right, that's just 3 more people. Honk, that person's voting for Trump. That person's voting for Trump. Go home to mommy. Go home to mommy. And your mom's voting for Trump. And your mother's voting for Trump. Thank you for the hard work that you do. We know you guys
Well,
work
I guess
tirelessly
somebody
and
would
get
know.
ridiculed by the radical left.
Yep, somebody just with no plates on their vehicle stopped to say something, and then the police moved them along.
America!
Where are your American flags? Where are your American flags? Where are your American flags?
This guy wants to come over, huh? That guy's acting like he wants to come over.
You guys hate America?
Fuck you, commie!
Where are your American flags?
Fuck you, commie!
Trump's sign is backwards.
4 more years. Best president.
Still 12.
I love workers. Donald Trump is a worker. I love workers. Donald Trump is a worker.
Real quick, I just got to interrupt you because you know I'm looking at their crowd and I'm looking at ours. Hey, you twisting liberals over there, you twisting Democrats, you twisting socialists. I got a question for you. How many of you over there are getting paid? All right, now how many of you over here are getting paid? Shout if you're not.
No!
That guy's vote for Trump. That's just another tally to our score. We're winning.
This is what honking at a rally sounds like.
Woo!
That's another vote for Trump.
Look at that little boy away from the road. What are you doing? Oh my God. American flag! Where is the American flag?
Black voices.
Trump, you're racist. That's all they got. So the people that were doing the Biden supporting started to get really restless, obnoxious. There was less than 20 of them. At least there were maybe 20, including kids. But the cops came over here. Cops came over here to talk to them, and they left. So now it's nothing but Trump. Both sides of the road, man. The Biden people just went home. They just fucking left.
We got it.
I think that the only reason that they came, because the mainstream media came over and shot a picture of them. I think the only reason they came was to get a quick media shot, and that was it.